Hi all, Shane here with an FSElite review video. Today we're going to be taking a look at JustFlight's new PA-28R Arrow III. This will be a part 1 of a part 3 series. Particularly this video we're going to be looking at the modeling and the textures of the outside and the inside of the Arrow's cockpit. We're going to be going through the features and also we're going to be going through the checklist from before startup, taxiing and whatnot. And before we jump into the review, I would have to say this is a very high detailed aircraft by JustFlight. So the first thing I would recommend anybody doing is actually jumping in and taking a look at their 83 page manual that comes with it. It's very detailed. It actually shows pictures of all the instruments. It goes through startup procedures, it goes through stats, it even goes through your first flight. Highly recommend to go through and it'll actually speed the process up of getting used to the Arrow. So now we're going to jump in and take a quick look around the outside and have a look at the modeling. The team at JustFlight have really put some time and effort into the Arrow. The actual aircraft has been modeled off by using real-world aircraft plans, which include many different animations such as the passenger door, the baggage door, cockpit window, sun visor and the oil cover, which we'll come back to very shortly. Also forgot to mention that it does come with some ground equipment as well, which is chocks and tie downs. And as you can see from the top part of the wing and even from the tail here that they've put a lot of time and effort into their bump mapping. It really gives you that 3D feel and helps that immersive feeling when you're looking outside the aircraft. All the textures here are 4096 by 4096 and I would have to say this is probably the most high visual aircraft in GA I've seen for a while. Even if you have a look at the gearing, you have a look close, you can actually see the springs that are modelled and the dirt and the grime that are seem to be in all the right spaces for a aircraft of this time period. All in all, that Arrow is very visually appealing. So we've been saying that, that includes our walk around and we're going to jump into the cockpit. The high fidelity and detail has come straight through to the cockpit as well. All the instruments are being constructed in 3D. One of my favourite parts of the cockpit is the actual yoke there. As you can see over time on the left hand side of the paint is actually peeled off. They've continued with the theme of the wear and tear look, and you can see how they've incorporated bits of straw or grass that have fallen off your shoes from all the times flying, and right through to the actual covers of the seats. Just that wear and tear sort of look, but being in kept good condition. Everything's been modelled right down to all the seat belts, and even the screw heads have been modelled. So we're going to jump into some of the features of what really makes the Arrow different than other GA aircraft on the market. So one of the features that JustFlight have incorporated into the Arrow is this little service module where it really helps the immersive feeling of you actually owning and looking after your aircraft there. So as you can go in there, you can check different things like your oil quantity. You can refuel your aircraft with your fuel. We're going to put in 50% for today. You can even recharge your battery if you actually make it flat, because that has been modelled into the actual aircraft. So really cool and interesting little service area there, and by closing that down, that actually drops the oil cap down. Some other options that JustFlight have actually incorporated is the little menu system here. So there's a couple of different options. The little strike there, that can toggle for cold and dark startup or startup. You've got the checklist and also this flight computer. So really cool if you're doing long distance flights, so you can check things like your fuel burn and all that sort of stuff. Also, you can keep tabs of your aircraft hours I should say, by putting all your flight information in, day and night length and etc. Really cool feature you've got, and you can position your aircraft where you need to have it with this little pushback app. Main part is what we'll be using today is the checklist. So every part of the flight you can use a checklist, and we're going to get this aircraft started up and taxied out on the runway. So as we go through our pre-flight checklist on the aircraft, I'm going to include the first scenes as the walk around, so we won't go and actually check the flaps and ailerons and all that sort of stuff like that. But one of the really cool aspects of this aircraft is that the actual sound set is modeled by Turbine Studio, so you know it's going to be really cool. And when it comes to things like turning the battery on, which I'll be quiet for a second. So a lot of effort's been put into place where every clickable or every item has been recorded from the real aircraft, and it's really cool, and again helps that immersive feeling, especially hearing really cool sounds of the whining as the battery starts up. So we'll just switch that off now, but like I said, we're not going to do a walk around. We're going to get into the engine startup so you guys can hear of what that sounds like. So as we come to our engine startup, this is when the Arrow really will come to life. So we'll just close the doors. To this stage of going through this part of the aircraft, there's not really much to fault at all. It's everything sort of runs quite smoothly, and everything should be where it's at. The menu system a little bit clunky, but I'm sure the guys will work on that in the future. But I'm going to be a little bit quiet so you guys can listen to the sounds as we actually start up the Arrow. Very exciting stuff now. The Arrow is ready to rock and roll, so we're gonna quickly follow our taxi checklist and get out to our run-up area, so then we can get this Arrow up in the air for part 2. We are going through our ground check, or our run-up as I should say, and we'll be able to get the engine of the Arrow up to 2000 RPM, and just starting to raise it there. We'll check the magnetos, we'll check the vacuum oil pressures and temperatures, amp meters and so forth. We'll play around with the propeller up, full and up low, all the usual checks. But the aircraft, you can follow the checklist and you can make it as real life as possible, or you can basically get up started by hitting the zigzag in the menu option there and going from cold to start to ready for taxi, and just go for a joy flight. So it's really open to all aspects of flight simming, to a novice to a hardcore enthusiast. And as we taxi out to the runway, that concludes part 1 of the Just Flight Arrow 3 series. In part 2 we'll be checking out takeoff procedures, flight dynamics and mechanics, and also some basic navigation and autopilot. So on behalf of FSElite.net, my name is Shane. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode. Cheers!